Welcome to WEFTech Live. I am the host, Travis Loop. Going to have a conversation now about the circular economy and resource recovery, what that means, why it's important, how the water sector can advance work in this area. Joined by Henrik Nielsen from VCS Denmark, where you are a project director. Thank you for coming on WEFTech Live and coming to WEFTech.
It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, let's start with a very basic question for folks. Sure. This term circular economy, which people hear or maybe haven't really heard that much, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's a great question in reality. Circular economy is a lot of things, and it's used widely and maybe misused in some places as well. In the water and wastewater sector, we have a great role in the circular economy. We need to circulate some of the material that we get in our possession. We are getting a lot of waste from the cities and from the public, and it's something they really don't need and are not really fond of anymore. So, but we can make that into something useful and valuable for society. So for us, circularity is to return back what we are getting and making it into a valuable material instead of what it was. It was a waste as a starting point. But we can make it into something that is valuable, and we have to do that because the world is not big enough without returning something. We cannot just use things. We need to circulate things as well, and material in the.
With 8 billion people and growing on the planet, we've got to do that.
We should expand the Earth a little bit to accommodate for all that. So we better be smart about it.
Sure. What are some of the kind of most common resources that are being recovered by the water industry right now?
I mean, there are three things that are really very common. Water, which is a good thing, and in some areas water is extremely valuable. There are very dry areas, and some areas are becoming more and more dry. So instead of using energy to desalinate, there might be water from wastewater that can be reused. Great example is PUB Singapore, where they are reusing the water for industrial use and making it so clean that it can be used in the electronic industry and as drinking water. So water in itself is valuable, but in some areas water is not what you're missing. You have way too much water, so that's not the big topic there. But then comes in energy. There's a lot of carbon in what we are receiving from in the wastewater, and up until now we have tried to get rid of the carbon because it's a pollutant when it gets out in the recipients. So, and we are doing that by putting air into it, oxidating it. So we're actually burning carbon with oxygen and trying to be smart about that to pollute less, which is a good thing. But if we could harvest the carbon instead of and make good use of it, turning it into energy, into green energy, then there are possibilities. And VCS, for instance, are producing more energy than what we are consuming. So we are net energy producers because we can harvest so much carbon. So there are more energy in the wastewater than what you need for cleaning the water. And then there are nutrients. Of course, phosphorus goes without saying. It's a product that is not enough of it. It's a little bit difficult areas it comes from. Some countries are closing themselves a little bit around their resources. Unrest in the world is not making life easier in the phosphorus world. So that's something we need to tackle, and we have some technologies that can do that. Still needs to expand on that. Nitrogen, another one. We're trying to get rid of the nitrogen in the water by denitrification and nitrification and denitrification, and then put it up in the atmosphere where we can take it down again with the Haber-Bosch process and use energy once more to get it down again. Doesn't seem to be a smart solution. So
not efficient.
No, there should be better ways in the future.
What are some of the best ways to accelerate this? You know, what are some of maybe the untapped areas of resource recovery when it comes to the water sector, that we should be pushing harder on that?
Yeah, I mean, we need to have the legislation helping us and supporting us. So I'm from Europe and from the EU, so we need support from the legislation in EU that we can reuse these compounds. There's this yak factor that whatever we produce is not of the same quality. It goes for phosphorus, for instance, that it's a little bit difficult to reuse and restricted. And the biosolids are restricted because, you don't know what's in there. And we do find nasty compounds like PFAS, etc. So there should be some regulation. But I think that we need to, both regulators and by ourselves, try to put a narrative around that it's reusable and we have a resource instead of looking at it as a waste product. So legislation needs to be better and to address this. Maybe like we are seeing, putting taxes on so you can so you are getting a benefit for reusing more, and so helping the industry in this transition would be very nice. And then making it worthwhile financially, making it a requirement that you have 5% reused phosphorus in your fertilizer, maybe 10% or whatever, and that those are instruments that can help and accelerate the development of these tools and these technologies.
That's very interesting. When I asked that question, you identified some kind of triggers, some areas where they need to be changed with policy, really. Some policy changes need to happen with regulations, with financial incentives, whatever it might be, to try to help accelerate and stop holding back the water sector in some ways. That sounds critical. Why should the water industry bring more urgency to this effort?
I mean, we have an obligation. Who else should do this? Because we are the one with the knowledge, and we are the one with the material. We are getting it, and our focus has been to make a safe environment for us, safe for humans, safe drinking water, safe environment, and no pollutions. But our task in the future is going to return some of the material again, and who else could do that? Who else? And in reality, we have to take our responsibility serious and do something about it, and not just talk about it. There's a lot of folks out there who are raving on about what should be done and what others should be doing, but we as a sector need to lift our game and say we can take the responsibility. And I'm sure that especially younger generations will embrace that and be happy that somebody are doing it. It's old folks like myself that's the obstacle. The young generations would be happy to see us taking that obligation upon us.
Absolutely. Lastly, there is a broader circular economy that's developing, right, globally around reusing in other industries. How plugged in is the water sector to that, or connected is the water sector, and is there an opportunity there to do more?
Yeah, there are some opportunities. I think there's a long distance between these relatively small startup companies with a great vision for reuse of plastic and so forth, and what materials you can find, but they don't see the water sector as the main corporation for them. So I think there's a communication lacking in trying to make a reach out and saying, yeah, we are here. We are sort of the hippies of the water industry. We have material. Can we do something together? And I think that we are a little bit prevented from doing that due to the yak factor in what we're doing. It doesn't look like that nice, and it doesn't smell that nice, but it's still material that can be reused. You know,
that brings me around to my favorite example of dealing with the yuck factor, and that's the beer that's made with treated wastewater, where it's, the science and the technology provides that clean water, meets or beats drinking water standards, make beer with it, and then have a conversation with the public and try to break that stigma, right?
So it is possible. We just need to do a lot more about it and be serious about it, and not just talking about it, but doing it and putting it into practice.
Absolutely. Well, Per Henrik Nielsen from VCS Denmark, thank you for talking about the circular economy. This is really critical to WEF and more critical to our water sector all the time. So thank you. Thank you all for watching WEF Tech Live.